Where's the shooter?" The SEAL commander's voice snapped across the radio, harsh and urgent, as another round tore out and dropped his point man behind a mud wall outside Herat. No one had eyes on her. Staff Sergeant Aaron Hayes had stayed hidden in the irrigation canal for 3 long hours, her body masked with a rebreather, her rifle packed airtight inside a waterproof casing. The Taliban marksman who had locked down a full SEAL platoon believed himself untouchable, perched nearly 890 meters away. He never even registered the shot that ended him. But the SEALs did. They heard the quiet breath in their comms. Target down. Phantom 7 clear. For half a year, rumors swirled about Phantom 7, the ghost sniper who shattered ambushes but never left a trace. When the truth emerged, disbelief rippled through the ranks. Few wanted to admit that a 28-year-old Army staff sergeant had just rescued America's most feared fighters. Fort Valor, Texas, present day. Staff Sergeant Hayes stood tall in the Joint Special Operations Command briefing hall, her dress uniform weighted with medals most soldiers would never earn in an entire career. At only 28, her sharp features, hardened by endless war zones, carried the gravity of someone far older than her years. She had been pulled from her teaching duties at the Army Sniper School to attend this session. And as the narrator of Major Tom's tales would remind you, whether you're listening in California, New York, or anywhere between, you're about to hear a story almost no one knows. Across the table sat 15 men, Delta Force officers, SEAL commanders, and Green Beret captains, each silently judging if she was the answer to a mission none of them dared take. They needed a phantom, someone who could vanish into rivers, into soil, into nothing at all. Someone who had already spent 4 unrelenting years with JSSC, executing missions alone in places where backup was just a word. General Harper opened her file and read it. 3 bronze stars with Fowler devices, a silver star awaiting elevation, a staggering record of engagements across Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan. Yet the dossier never disclosed the missions erased from record, the unseen kills that had saved entire platoons, or why operators spoke of a figure who moved like death through water. They had christened her the River Wraith. Phantom 7 was the call sign, but her legend ran deeper. Hayes's path began on the Red River Reservation in Montana, where her grandfather, once a Marine Force recon sniper in Vietnam, raised her after her parents died. He gave her more than marksmanship. He taught her to read the wind by watching grass bow, to slow her pulse until her heartbeat vanished, to disappear seamlessly into the earth around her. Above all, he passed down the secret of water. Her people had always known rivers. They were not obstacles, they were roads, they were shields, they were weapons. By 14, she could hold her breath nearly 4 minutes, strike a deer at 400 meters, and track a man without a sound through dense forest. At 18, she enlisted, not in the Marines, despite family tradition, but in the Army, because it promised her a spot in sniper school. At Fort Benning, instructors swore they had never seen skill like hers. It wasn't only precision, it was instinct, as though she felt the bullet's path before it even left the barrel. Her reputation solidified during her second deployment to Afghanistan with the 3rd Ranger Battalion. She endured 9 punishing hours half buried in a filthy drainage ditch, holding steady for the single round that would drop a high-value target. When the mission was over, the Ranger captain personally wrote her recommendation for JSOC selection. Soon after, Aaron Hayes became the youngest soldier ever accepted into their elite sniper cadre, but the legend of Hayes truly caught fire during Operation Iron Thunder in Syria. She braced herself in the Euphrates for 14 grueling hours, acting as overwatch while a Delta squad struggled to survive. In that one operation, she took out 7 ISIS fighters who had sprung an ambush. Her longest confirmed hit that day stretched to 1,240 meters, fired from a Remington MSR chambered in. 338 Lapua Magnum, using hand-loaded match-grade rounds. It was the kind of shot most called mathematically impossible. Yet Hayes pulled it off while under heavy fire. Half drowned and drained, General Harper finally closed her file, his eyes narrowing as he looked across the table. "Staff Sergeant Hayes," he began, "we have a serious problem. A rogue Afghan Special Forces commander, one of our own former trainees, has seized 32 American contractors in Helmand Province. He knows our tactics, our movements, our entire playbook." The general's words pressed heavier than the medals on her chest. "He's already wiped out 2 SEAL teams we sent in," a Navy captain added grimly. "We need an approach that breaks the pattern." Every eye shifted to Hayes as satellite photos glowed on the screen. A desolate compound rose in the middle of endless poppy fields, its edges carved by canals like branching veins. Guard towers overlapped firing zones, making escape nearly impossible. The Taliban commander was named Khalid Darwan, a face Hayes recognized immediately. He had once trained at Fort Bragg before betraying every principle he was taught. "The SEALs want an airstrike," General Harper said flatly. "Delta proposes a night breach. Both will cost lives. Darwan knows their playbook inside out." Hayes's voice cut through the silence. "What's the water temperature in those canals?" The question froze the room. A Delta major scoffed. 62 degrees in October. "You can't be serious. Staying in that water is suicide. Hypothermia will hit fast." With proper gear and conditioning, Hayes replied evenly, "I can last 4 to 5 hours. That's enough to slip in, set up, and dismantle his command. Give me a 2-man support team, my MSR, and 12 hours to prepare. No helicopters, no forced breaches, no messy firefights." The SEAL captain frowned. "The canals shift, 4 feet deep in some spots, 6 in others. You'll be exposed." "Not if I move under darkness and settle before dawn," Hayes countered. "The canals are thick with debris and mud. That's cover if you know how to work it." "And I do." General Harper leaned in, his voice cutting away hesitation. "The hostages include the Secretary of Defense's niece. We've been ordered to bring them back within 72 hours. If this plan fails—" "It won't." Hayes cut him off, her tone like steel. "I don't fail, sir. I adapt, I adjust, I finish." A Delta major sneered. "No woman has ever—" Hayes locked eyes with him, sharp as a rifle scope. "Gender doesn't pull a trigger, Major. Training does, patience does. Or would you rather send another team in to die?" The room went silent. Out on the balcony, Erin Hayes stood alone, watching the sun sink behind Fort Valor. Her thoughts drifted back to her grandfather's last lesson before cancer took him. The river doesn't fight the rocks, child. It flows around, beneath, and through. Be the river. For a decade, she had lived by that creed, moving unseen through war zones, carrying death in her current. Never visible, always present. Her phone buzzed. A message from her sister about the hostages. "I know you can't share details, but please be careful. Your nephew keeps asking when Aunt Erin is coming home." She stared at the text. He was 8, the same age she had been when her grandfather first put a rifle in her hands. She had promised to take him hunting that winter, to pass down the lessons that shaped her. But first, 32 Americans had to live long enough to see their own families again. The heavy door creaked open, and Master Sergeant Torres, a veteran Delta operator, stepped into the hall. He studied her with the calm of someone who had seen too many missions collapse. "I read your file," he said evenly, And that shot in Syria, 1,240 meters with hand-loaded rounds, by all rights, that shouldn't have been possible. Even a 338 Lapua rarely reaches that far. Hayes's answer was calm, almost offhand. Everything's impossible until someone proves it real, Master Sergeant. Torres handed her a sealed folder. Your support team. We move in 6 hours. Oh, and the SEALS are running a pool. 50 grand says you won't even take the shot. Hayes allowed the faintest smile. Tell them I don't gamble on ego. I gamble on training. Helmand Province, Afghanistan. 200 hours. Hayes slid into the Black Canal nearly 2 miles from the compound. A 5mm wetsuit packed with thermal layers clung to her frame, saving what warmth it could as icy water closed over her. Behind her, Master Sergeant Torres and Sergeant First Class Walker set up Overwatch 1,600 meters out, their thermal optics following her shape until it vanished into the cold backdrop. Phantom 7 entering the water, Hayes whispered through her bone conduction mic, her voice barely more than air. The current pressed harder than expected, swelled with snowmelt from far-off mountains. Depth shifted unpredictably, sometimes just 4 feet, other times close to 6. Hayes stayed low in the deeper runs, her closed-circuit rebreather ensuring not a single bubble betrayed her. 90 minutes in, her core temp had slipped to 95 degrees. Still inside her limit, but edging into danger. Her grandfather's words circled in her mind. The cold is only another environment, child. Respect it, endure it, and it will respect you back. Finally, she reached her hide 450 meters from the compound's main hall, tucked behind storm debris that formed a natural cover. She settled in, raised her scope, and began her count. 17 guards, each man's route and rhythm logged into memory. At 0400, Khalid Darwan himself appeared, pausing to pray. Hayes's crosshairs steadied on his temple. She could have ended it right there, but without knowing where the hostages were, a premature kill could doom 32 lives. She held her discipline. Master Sergeant Torres broke in over comms. T-Predator shows thermal heat, multiple bodies, northwest wing, ground floor. Moments later, Hayes watched Darwan move toward that same wing. 2 guards trailing behind with trays carrying exactly 32 meals. Relief washed through her, proof the captives still lived. By 0530, the compound stirred, guards rotated, and movement grew heavier. Hayes kept tracking faces, every detail carved into her memory. Then Khalid Darwan appeared again, this time clutching a video camera. Her pulse locked. Execution. One of his fighters dragged an American contractor to his knees in the dirt. Hayes's breathing slowed to near silence. Range, 447 meters. Wind 6 miles per hour. Full value. The world shrank to a single point, the mechanics of a perfect shot. Water streamed along her barrel as she lifted it above the surface, clearing her optic. Her core temperature had crashed to 93 degrees, deep into hypothermia, but her hand stayed steady, guided by discipline and muscle memory honed through years. Darwan raised his pistol, beginning his propaganda speech. Crack. Her first shot tore through his temple, ending him mid-sentence. Before his body even hit the dirt, Hayes had already worked the bolt. The second round felled the cameraman. The third cut down the guard holding the captive. Chaos ignited. Fighters swarmed toward Darwan's corpse, exposing themselves. Hayes slipped into rhythm. Bolt, breathe, squeeze, cycle, breathe, squeeze, cycle. 5 shots in 20 seconds, each round hitting with surgical precision. In her comms, Master Sergeant Torres broke through the static. Delta and SEALs inbound 3 minutes. Hayes shifted instantly, sighting the basement. Through a window barely the size of a dinner plate, she drove a shot into a guard's chest. Another raised his weapon at the hostages, but her bullet struck him before he could fire. 2 more spotted the faint shimmer of her muzzle and raked the canal with AK fire. But the rounds bled out within a meter, shattering harmlessly in the current. Hayes let the water sweep her 20 meters downstream before rising behind new cover. 2 quick squeezes later, 2 more went down. On the horizon, rotor thunder split the night. MH-60 Blackhawks roared in, Delta fast roping into the compound while SEALs sealed the perimeter. The firefight was over in under a minute. By then, Hayes had already taken out 15 of the 24 guards before anyone else's boots even touched ground. She staggered toward extraction, her muscles quaking with fatigue. When Torres hauled her from the canal, her core temp had plunged to 91 degrees, deep hypothermia. Her body trembled uncontrollably, but her eyes stayed sharp, unbroken. Fort Valor, Texas, 6 weeks later. Hayes once again stood in the conference hall, a newly pinned silver star gleaming on her chest, while her nomination for the Distinguished Service Cross advanced forward. The same 15 men who had doubted her before now rose together and applauded, a gesture almost unheard of in special operations circles. General Harper handed her an envelope. The SEALs, 50,000. They want you to have it. Inside, Hayes found not only a check, but a handwritten note. Phantom 7, you're invited to teach our combat swimming course.